The town of Oro, New Mexico, has recently become a hotspot for missing persons cases. These cases began with one Andrea Butcher, a journalist sent to investigate the company Ouroboros, which has its base of operations in the small town. Ouroboros is a corporation that operates primarily in the food and medical markets. The company has recently come under scrutiny, both for health, safety, and quality control issues relating to their products, and for the fact that since their establishment in the small New Mexico town, it has been irreparably altered. Following Miss Butcher's disappearance, the New Mexico state authorities sent a search and rescue team to locate her. Following the search and rescue team's disappearance, the Federal Bureau of Investigation took over and sent in an agent. The agent could confirm that 2 out of the 3 initial members had been killed in action by a large, heretofore undocumented, aggressive humanoid creature. One of these team members is still missing. Following the FBI agent's death, the Federal Bureau of Investigation stepped back, and it was since undertaken by the Bureau of Anomalous Containment. Rather than send in another man to play hungry hippos with the town of mutant pigmen, the agent assigned to the case, one Dr. Volt, decided to use a remotely operated drone. A Bureau transport vehicle placed the drone on the edge of town and then promptly left, abandoning its robotic child in Swineland. The operator piloted the rover towards the warehouse that took up the entire center of town. It almost got halfway through the city before it encountered the first of what must have been the killer of the Bureau agent and 2 of the search and rescue members. The operator stopped the drone as the pig-like ears of the bacon ogre perked up, and it swiveled its head to fixate a pair of dark, beady eyes at the camera. It sloppily lumbered over to the machine, bent over, and picked it up. It sniffed the drone for a moment, licked it, and then, after confirming it wasn't edible, dropped it face down into the mud. Cursing under his breath, the operator used the small manipulation arm to flip the now brown-stained rover back into position and continued towards the warehouse. Aside from the rare curious one, the pigmen seemed to barely even notice the robotic intruder to their land, despite acting with hostility to almost any other living thing that crossed their path other than themselves. The operator piloted the drone to the front door of the warehouse without a hitch, and then followed one of those pork gremlins inside. As the drone crossed the threshold of the door, the operator saw a long, orderly line of the porkers. These individuals were much larger than the pigs that wandered the town, looking as if they were struggling to even stand under their own weight. Some couldn't even walk, and just crawled, more like slid like slugs. It seemed to go on forever inside of this building that was notably larger on the inside. On the left wall of the entrance hall was a small door. The door was around double the height of the drone, which was strange, seeing as the pigmen were at least 15 drones high. There was no way they could possibly squeeze themselves through this. There was no door handle, just a small flap like on dog doors. The drone pushed under the thin plastic to reveal another expansive room. Each of the rooms alone looked too big to fit into the warehouse, but together, it was impossible. It looked like a maze of office cubicles, with what looked like small little gremlins running back and forth between the cubes. At closer inspection, they had skin similar to the morbidly obese morbid beasts, although much softer, and they had the same snouts too. Their faces looked notably more conscious, fearful, and anxious, sprinting from one task to the next with a fervor that showed they might not be around for long if they weren't quick. In their panicked fury, they didn't even notice the drone. The rover breached the interior of one of these cubicles, and on a grease-laden desk was an old 90s computer with what appeared to be language on the screen. The drone sent screenshots of the language, and Bureau databases confirmed that there were no known matching dialects. From here, the drone swept each of the walls to determine the actual size of the room. This took much longer than anticipated, and after it was finally complete, the calculation based on the information gathered by the rover signified that this room was not only bigger than the warehouse could hold, but it was bigger than the town of Oro entirely. There was one abnormality on the edge of the room, a door with a set of stairs that, after initial exploration, seemed to go on forever. Next to this door was an elevator, but upon repeated pressing of the button, the drone operator deemed that it was defective. After this sweep, the operator was instructed to reorient the drone to the line of swinemen. Miles and miles of repeating cubicles later, the drone was back at the beginning of the swine line. The operator followed the line for what felt like forever yet again, but he stopped the drone for a moment once he heard something. A faint humming. He moved the drone forward slowly and steadily to hear the sound get louder. It was recognizably from a machine, which, to the operator, was strangely relieving. At the very least, these things didn't get any bigger. It was after a few minutes that he began to hear another sound, a ripping and tearing. Sounded like ham going through a deli slicer. The sounds got louder and more visceral until the camera picked up what was happening. This was a culling line. A circular saw stood affixed at the end of the miles-long tunnel. The creatures would simply walk into the blade. The pigs kept walking until the head was completely severed, and then a few steps after. Ever heard of the saying, running like a chicken with its head cut off? It was nothing like that. They calmly walked into a room filled with bodies in front of them, and then collapsed into the heap. After 2 or 3 more went through this, the room was almost full. A set of heavy metal doors shut, revealing a label, Transportation Room. The door was only closed for one silent moment, but as it reopened, the drone camera showed that it was completely empty of bodies. There wasn't even any blood. The operator was instructed to drive the drone into the transportation room, and did as he was told. The view of the camera showed as the pigmen's headless torsos piled onto the rover, before the latches of the metal door were heard, and the monitor displayed only a connection lost screen. The operator went to report his findings to Dr. Volt, who relayed that in the past 2 minutes, there had been an update in the case he hadn't yet been privy to. She changed the monitor feed to the front gate security camera of the BAC compound. Standing in front of the chain link fence was a lumbering swine mass, wearing the uniform of the last remaining member of the search and rescue team.
If you like this video and want to see more, make sure to like, comment, subscribe with all notifications enabled, or I'll turn you into a pig tumor and make you to die by saw. I want to thank Dead Rex for drawing these spooky critters. Shout out the inner circle. Love y'all.